Police, Korryn Gaines involved in police incident in March. Baltimore County Police have released the police report behind the warrant that officers tried to serve on a woman killed in a police-involved shooting following an hours-long standoff in Randallstown. Police said officers on Monday fatally shot Korryn Gaines, 23, in the unit block of Sulky Court in the Carriage Hill Apartments after she repeatedly threatened officers with a long gun. Her 5-year-old son was shot in an extremity and was taken to a hospital for treatment of non-life-threatening injuries. According to the police report released Tuesday, Gaines was pulled over at 4:16 p.m. on March 10 in the area of Pikeswood Drive and Liberty Road after an officer noticed a rectangular piece of cardboard in place of where a license plate should have been on a Toyota Camry Gaines was driving. Police said the officer reported that the cardboard on the back of the car said, "Any government official who compromises this pursuit to happiness and right to travel, will be held criminally responsible and fined, as this is a natural right and freedom." The piece of cardboard on the front of Gaines' car had "Free Traveler" written on it, police said. When an officer asked Gaines for a Maryland driver's license and why she didn't have any tags on her vehicle, she said the officer did not have the right to pull her over and asked that the officer identify himself, according to the police report. The officer said he then asked Gaines for her driver's license and registration, but she said he did not have the authority to ask her for any information, according to the police report. And when he asked her again for her driver's license and registration, she said again that he didn't have the authority to ask her for it. A second officer was called to the scene. The first officer repeatedly asked Gaines for her driver's license and she repeatedly said he was breaking the law, according to police. Gaines was told by the first officer that if he couldn't identify her, she would be arrested, according to the report. A witness said, there was an extensive dialogue going on between her and the police. A neighbor in the area, who has witnessed the March incident and wished to remain anonymous, spoke to WTV 11 News Salika Khan. It appeared to be a tense situation, basically. There were obviously small kids in the car. There were probably 5 or 6 police cars out there, a heavy police presence, the witness said. Police said after checking the Maryland Motor Vehicle Administration using the Toyota's vehicle identification number, they learned that Gaines was listed as the owner, but there was no insurance information, no tags were listed and the vehicle was suspended for failing to comply with the Maryland Vehicle Emissions Inspection Program, according to the police report. When asked about insurance, officers said Gaines continued to be belligerent and said she might have an insurance card, according to the report. Gaines was issued a citation and a must-appear form. She said she did not want the paperwork, and after the citations were placed in the car, she threw them out the window, according to the police report. Gaines was told her car was going to be towed and she needed to get herself and her children out of the vehicle, but she told the officer she wasn't going to get out and wouldn't let the first officer steal her car, according to the police report. The first officer on the scene told Gaines if she didn't get out of her car, she would be arrested, but she told police she wouldn't leave and officers would have to murder her, according to the police report. While waiting for the tow truck, Gaines was asked several times to get out of her vehicle, but said she wouldn't and officers would have to force her to leave, according to the police report. While other officers responded, Gaines took her infant into her lap and told her 4-year-old son to sit on her lap, according to the police report. When Gaines was told she would be arrested, one officer held back her arms in order for another officer to safely take the infant away from her arms, according to the police report. Gaines was physically removed from her car and put up a fight, screaming and not allowing officers to put handcuffs on her, according to the report. She was forcibly removed from the car. She was pinned down in the street and cuffed, the witness said. The witness said the boy was still in the car when they took Gaines out. They dragged her out of the car, basically, the witness said. Gaines' behavior drew a crowd of people to watch and Gaines yelled to the crowd that she could not breathe and to record this while police were placing her under arrest, according to the police report. There were other people recording and taping the incident, the witness said. Gaines' finger was cut and she was bleeding because she was resisting arrest, according to the police report. Gaines asked for a medic and one was requested, but while waiting Gaines screamed to her son to fight and bite the officer who was watching over him, according to police report. While they were trying to get the child out, I do remember her telling the kid to bite the officer. She said, bite him, the witness said. The witness said the child was screaming and going off, you could hear him. I do remember a smaller baby, looked like a girl, the witness said. A female officer was holding the baby. The witness said that dialogue between Gaines and officers continued after her arrest. Her and the officer were jawing at each other, the witness said. You could tell there was sarcastic banter between the two, Gaines and the police officers. After she was taken to Northwest Hospital, treated and released, Gaines was taken to the precinct for processing. Her children were released to their grandmother's custody, police said. Gaines' vehicle was towed by Windsor Towing, and the 2 pieces of cardboard were seized and packaged per departmental policy, according to the police report. Warrant for Korryn Courtney was for assault on Gaines. During a news conference Tuesday afternoon, Baltimore County Police Chief Jim Johnson said that officers were trying to serve 2 warrants, one on Gaines and the other on Korryn Courtney, 39. Courtney had a warrant stemming from a June 28 domestic abuse incident in which Gaines was the victim, police said. He was charged with assault second-degree simple domestic after police were called to their apartment around 10 a.m. that day following an argument that turned into a fight. Courtney and Gaines had been in a relationship for 3 years but had only been living together for 3 months, according to the police report. They have 1 child in common, an infant, and Gaines' son from a previous relationship. Police said both children witnessed the assault. Gaines answered yes when asked if he follows or spies on you or leaves you threatening messages. She also answered yes when asked if she had ever been strangled or choked. Police officers taking the assault report noted that Gaines' demeanor was angry and nervous. According to the police report, Gaines told police she and her boyfriend, Courtney, had been arguing when things turned physical. During the fight, Gaines suffered minor scratches to her forearm area, red marks to her ear and shoulder area and defensive marks to her hands, according to the police report. Courtney had grabbed a chair and tried to hit Gaines with it and he had slapped her in the face and scratched her arms, according to the police report. Officers did see Gaines' injuries. Officers weren't able to find Courtney, and Gaines was later told she would need to fill out a witness statement, according to the report. Gaines said she didn't need any medical attention. There was no protective order in place. A warrant was obtained for Courtney and officers tried to serve that warrant on Monday. What happened to Korryn Gaines on Monday? Gaines' warrant involved the March traffic incident and Courtney's warrant involved an assault charge placed on him by Gaines, Johnson said. Johnson said 3 officers tried to serve the search warrant around 9:20 a.m. Monday, but were not answered when arrived at the apartment. After hearing for 10 minutes the voices of a man, woman and child, officers asked apartment management for a key to open the door and when they did, Gaines wielded a legally purchased 12-gauge pistol grip shotgun in their direction, Johnson said. When asked if officers made legal entry into the home, Johnson said, "We are looking into that." The officers retreated and additional resources, including SWAT and negotiators, were called. Johnson said while Gaines stayed in the apartment with her son, Courtney left the apartment with the younger child and he was arrested. He was later released on his own recognizance, police said. Officers remained just outside the doorway of the apartment, where Gaines was visible to the officers and she was visible to them, Johnson said. Baltimore County Police spokeswoman Elisa McCost said authorities consulted mental health professionals during the barricade situation, though she did not elaborate on what steps were taken with them. Johnson said negotiations, which at one point involved Gaines' parents, were up and down until about 4 p.m., when Gaines threatened to kill officers after telling them to leave. McCost said sometimes barricades go on for a very long time, but when a gun is pointed directly at an officer it may not end well. We pleaded with her. We were concerned about the safety of the child, Johnson said. An officer first and Gaines returned fire. In the shootout, she was killed and her son was shot in the arm. Johnson said it is not clear if the child was shot by police or by his mother. She, in turn, fired several rounds at us, Johnson said. No officer was struck. Our personnel returned 3 rounds of fire, striking her and killing her. Authorities knew the child was moving around the apartment prior to the shootout and were not aware of his position prior to when the shootout took place, Johnson said. The child, 5, was taken to Johns Hopkins Children's Center and is listed in good condition. Johnson said no officers involved in this incident were wearing body cameras. What happened to Gaines' social media videos? Some videos on Gaines' Facebook and Instagram social media accounts depicting the standoff situation were deleted Tuesday. Johnson was asked about that during the news conference. "Let's talk about social media accounts. We did reach out to social media authorities to deactivate her account," Johnson said. One video that was deleted showed what appeared to be a SWAT officer at the apartment door. Johnson said Gaines' followers encouraged her to keep the standoff going and not to surrender to police. He said that to preserve the integrity of the investigation they asked Facebook to take Gaines' account offline and the videos were not deleted. "We can't delete videos. Facebook maintains a law enforcement portal, through which requests to deactivate were made," Johnson said. Armacost said it took Facebook 1 hour to make a decision to do so. On the topic of deleting videos, Armacost said that Facebook owns Instagram. Armacost said on the question police body cameras they have their roughly 1,900 officers, that rollout of cameras takes time. Police said the county's body camera program, which eventually will equip more than 1,400 officers with cameras, was launched only about a month ago and is in the first stage of the program, training and equipping 10 officers a week. Tactical officers eventually will be equipped with cameras. The officer involved in the shootout has not yet been identified, but was placed on routine administrative leave, pending an investigation. Gaines' gun was legally obtained.